time to fuel your business success. Welcome to Harmonious at Lunch. We're bringing you bite-sized advice and expert conversations to drive clarity and growth 5 days a week. Make sure you join our Facebook group at humanopt.com/lunch, where listeners like you and our guests hang out so we can find harmony in business together. If you're building a business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
How is AI going to change the future of work and the future, hopefully, of your business for the better? Yeah. I know there's a bajillion of these conversations going on, but this one I think is going to be unique. I have a very cool guest with me today, Matthew White. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. This is great. Excited to jump in.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. We talked before we started recording for a couple of minutes, and I mean, full disclosure, we've had a couple of AI experts on the show talking all things, right? Like how to use AI very simply, all the way up to SEO for AI, building robots, as I like to call them, aka agents and AI workflows. This is a different topic. You are actually transforming the way AI functions and performs tasks for you, which is fascinating to me, where we're going in this market. So why don't you give me the high level overview of what you do, sort of ground us for this conversation, and then we'll talk about how it can actually help us in our businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the mindset for what we're building with Platypus OS and Platypus AI is to make your day simpler, right? There's all these great tools, all these great technologies out there that people are using to run, manage, market, organize their corporation or their business. But a lot of it, what we find is a lot of it is underutilized because just it's a lot to use these kinds of tools, right? There's a lot of different functionality you need to learn and understand. There's a lot of interface interactions that you have to understand within these tools. What we're trying to do is kind of take the hard part of managing technology out of that. And what we've done is we basically took AI, injected it into a browser, and it can now work on your behalf. So it can run any of your applications. So if you want to update John Doe's phone number in Salesforce while you're out on a job, you can do that from your phone just by prompting the AI instead of actually having to sit down on the computer and do those types of things. What we're finding is by using that kind of a mentality where we're taking you out of having to sit at the computer and do all that, we're saving you tons of time in your week. We're saving you a lot of headache. We're actually getting people to use technology more effectively. And all of that comes back to kind of build a way of working that is spending less time on the manual kind of junky work that nobody wants to do, sitting in front of a computer all day, and allowing you to either, be out on the jobs more, be out, making more sales, hiring people. Instead of hiring like assistants, you're hiring other, plumbers that are going to be, out on the job. And what it really also is helping us do, I think, is get rid of some of that menial work so you can spend it on things you love, spending time with your family, spending time with friends, and really just pursuing your passions a little bit more instead of having to spend all of your time just working, which is I think is very important for a lot of, especially entrepreneurs, people that are, trying to not run the burnout game.
Yeah, it's the core theme of this show. So I absolutely am on board with what you're saying. And I've kind of noticed that with AI in general, like in the beginning when it was ChatGPT, OpenAI, it was relatively simple to understand, right? But then you get into more of the workflow and automation, and it actually gets more complex the deeper you go into it, which is probably where this idea came from, to simplify using the technology. I love that that's your focus.
Yeah.
That's what I think more people need, and that's the direction we need to go in business, because right now AI is cool, but it's still not fully achievable for most businesses, especially when you have, 25, 50, 100 plus employees. There's just too many moving parts to manage if it's not simple. So let me ask you the stupid question, because our longtime listeners know that it's on my mind and I just have to get it answered before we move on. Platypus. Where in the world did the name Platypus come from?
It's kind of a random story. Platypus has kind of been a nickname of mine for the last 20 years.
You're the first person I've ever met with the nickname Platypus. Yeah. Congratulations.
I'm assuming there's only 3 of us out there in the world, probably. And it just when we were thinking of a name for this new company, Platypus just seems very recognizable. It's approachable. It's kind of fun. So we're like, let's just go with it and see what happens. If it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, we'll move forward. But people seem to love it. We can make little logos about it and have a little, character in there. So there it is, Platypus. That's what we run with.
I think it's awesome. It was the fourth name on my list for if I was going to start an AI company. So I'm glad it was first on yours. No.
Perfect. I was like, oh wow, cool.
Yeah,
Not
what
the
a
only one then.
coincidence. Yeah, definitely not. But no, I think it is a funny name. It's super cool. So okay,
Thank you.
back to reality here. So
Sure.
talk to me about what does this look like in real life, right? Let's just say this too. I'm sure you saw OpenAI just came out with Operator. I saw their demo, their launch video. I really have no idea how it works. I definitely don't know how much it costs and what the logistics behind it look like. But it's a cool product that you can prompt an AI and it will go do things on your behalf, make decisions, and it will get to an outcome that you tell it to get to.
Yeah.
How does this actually work in the context of business? I understand if I want to do it, but like business wise, there's other people depending on my outcomes. What does it
Yeah.
look going from robot to human and back and forth in that transaction?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think they have something pretty neat that they're building when it comes to, especially the operator, right? And how it can actually facilitate on your computer any kind of actions that you want it to take. We're kind of taking a little bit different mindset. I think with ChatGPT and OpenAI, they're really looking at the consumer side of it. Having AI be able to book you a table on OpenTable or things like that, which are great operators, right? We're looking more kind of at the business side of it, where we want to plug into the applications that you have and then be able to do that work on your behalf. Now they'll probably, do some of the same thing as well. But that operating back and forth, that actually works pretty neat. So when we work with it within our system, there have been times where the AI can get stuck, right? You say, hey, update John Doe's phone number in Salesforce. It gets like halfway there and it's like, oh, I can't find a John Doe or something like that. But the AI is really good at having that conversation with you, right? It can say, hey, I can't find John Doe. I found these other 3 Johns. Is this one of the people that you might be looking for? And then you can prompt it back and forth and have that conversation. That takes some work. And I think that is where the assistive AI is really starting to evolve and get good is, I would say a year ago, I don't think we were at a point where it could have that conversation and figure out those little nuances by itself. But now it is. The way I'm kind of thinking about AI too is the way we look at AI in the last few years. It's all been very generative, right? So you can create images, you can create copy, et cetera, et cetera. Now I think we get into more an assistive side where either, what they're doing with Operator, what we're doing with Platypus OS, we are starting to think of AI more as like a team member now than a tool or an application. And I think that's one of the ways that people need to start really thinking about how this is going to work with you in the future. This can be, again, at this point where it's assistive, it can be everybody's personal assistant. Like you can prompt it and have it do things on your behalf in applications, on websites, wherever you are. And that is where this becomes not just a tool or an application use, but somebody on your team that is, helping you with your day-to-day menial tasks, the stuff that you don't want to do.
Which I think is beautiful, right? I mean, we hire people for those roles because up until the last few years, you just had to, right? But those are the roles usually with the highest turnover because they don't pay that much because it's repetitive tasks. If you can automate it, fantastic. But no human being is really going to thrive in those roles. And we can put a robot to do it. And that's exactly what they're meant to do.
Yeah.
Looking at this from the other end, really fascinates me. Like if you have this example where you're going to have a personal assistant for you and your business, go research something. Maybe it's a product, a service, a software product.
Yeah.
That service needs to be communicating now with both robots and people. What? So in the context of Platypus, if I'm using it and I say, go research the top 5 CRMs and make a recommendation for me, what is it doing on those websites to understand what they are? Is the current website makeup speaking to the robot or am I going to get skewed results? Like, what does that side of AI look like?
Yeah. So when it comes to informative portions like that with AI, it really is just taking whatever's on the internet, right? So it can take information from different websites, from different sources, and then try to make its own decisions about things. But that's really kind of the breadth of the information that you're going to get is from humans. right? Everything that AI knows is stuff that we as humans have put online for it to learn, to understand, and to read. And then it can make its own conclusions a bit from those types of things. But that's where, when you're looking at AI and trying to get information from it, you still need to be doing your own research. Let's say that, right? So if you say, what are the 5 top CRMs that I should be using for this industry? And it comes back with those top 5, that's great. It's giving you good information to start with. But at that point, you need to start to also go in there and say, okay, let me then do my research on these and test to see which one's actually going to be the most effective for me. So when I think about getting information from AI or using it for search, again, it's great at getting you to starting points. And then you need to make sure that you are using your own research to kind of take it to the next level. So that's going to be a bit different than, again, the assistive AI, where you're telling it exactly what you want it to do. And then let's say through APIs, we can say, all right, I'm going to go update John Doe's phone number and then send him an invoice for $365, right? Because I'm telling it exactly what to do. It has all the API documentation to understand exactly what to go do, and then it will run those for you. And I think that's where agents come in as well. I think custom built agents, and that's one of the other things we're building into Platypus OS, is like a marketplace for people to come build and deploy agents within our ecosystem that can connect into all the different tools that we're connected into, and really kind of be able to automate and create automations for all these different things. It's kind of where it comes to the point you were talking about. You're hiring people right now, assistants, secretaries, things like that, to do these kind of menial jobs like data entry, those types of things, or searching for the best CRM. AI can start to do that for you, and it will, and it is starting to do that for you. So I see companies, instead of have to hire those positions, maybe hiring more salespeople on their team, or hiring more, people that are going to be out doing the work. And I think that's where we'll see a lot of these companies that start to adopt AI and really understand it are going to be the ones that are going to take a lot of the market in the next few years. That's kind of my mindset on the different forms of what AI is right now and kind of where the direction it's going to go.
Yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate the clarification too. So looking kind of ahead, what would you say, for a CEO of a company, let's just say between 50 and 250 employees, right? What would be the rollout plan to use Platypus within a company? What would you say is going to get you the most effective help from your assistant or assistants? Because there's going to be multiple of them, right? Everyone's going to have their own. And then what could you sort of expect your company to look like after that rollout? I don't know if you've thought through this yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to understand what the mindset of your customer, your client, is going to be at the end of the day, right? I want to say, like, when people deploy Platypus OS into our system, it's actually going to be very kind of customized and personalized to each specific person within the organization, because everybody has different roles and different jobs, right? So what we would do in a deployment like that is come in and say, okay, let's take basically an inventory of all the people on the team, what their needs are, what do they do on a daily basis within the tools that they're using for their work? Are they in a CRM all day? Are they on the phones making calls? What does that look like? Because then we can start to customize, all right, what part of your day do you just want to cut out? What part of your job do you hate? Maybe, again, for salespeople, it's just data entry, like going in at the end of the day and entering all the information from all the calls they did in Salesforce. Maybe that's a terrible experience for them. We can have the robots do that for you. And I think that's where it gets to a point where people will start to love their jobs a bit more, right? There's always the part of every job where you're like, oh gosh, this is the part that I just hate the most. It's not fun. I don't want to do it. And usually it's the menial tasks. And if we can come in and say, hey, what can we take off your plate? How can we help kind of facilitate a more productive view? That is the goal for this. So again, I think it's very customized to each specific user. But the cool thing is we're building it in a way that you can basically either build your own agents within our system to automate a lot of those processes, or the marketplace will have people that have built pre-made templates of automations that you can just automatically plug in. So there's all those types of things that you can kind of do with it. Plus just the prompting itself. Like if you tell our AI, hey, I want you to take all these notes from this call and inject it into John Doe's, notes in my CRM, it can easily do this because it will work between tools and manage that whole process. So I think that's where this gets exciting, is it's just going to take a lot of that labor that people don't want to do and switch it into more productive processes for their daily operation.
Yeah, you're everybody's best friend at this point. If you can take those things off their plate, which I fully believe you can.
Yeah,
Talk to me a little bit before I let you go about the interconnectedness of Platypus or not. I mean, one of my biggest frustrations with we use Gemini as a company.
sure.
We also use Claude and ChatGPT and
Yeah,
other workflow management tools, automation tools, excuse me. It is kind of frustrating that I can't, like, everything I do is isolated to me, and
yeah,
it has to be a separate login or a separate interface for every other member of our team.
yep.
If we integrate Platypus in our company, is it connected so that if I update John Doe's phone number and then someone else tells Platypus to update John Doe's phone number, obviously it's going to see that in Salesforce, but it wouldn't even have to because it would know that I already did that. And that's an easy
Right.
example because there's a third-party software, but
Sure.
you kind of see what I'm going for. Like, is it talking to itself within the company, or is it really just independent logins?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. The way our system is set up right now, and it's kind of why it's a little bit different than you're going to find with like a Gemini system, where mostly it's just contained to their own tools, like Google's own tools and things like that. What we've done is we go out and we interact with all the APIs of all these different technologies. So I think we have like 1,500 different applications that are plugged into our system at this point. What you would do is go put in your API credentials or whatever authentication credentials that tool specifically requires. So let's say Salesforce, for example, I think they're OAuth 2. You'd put those credentials in. Our AI reads the API documentation for all of those tools like in real time. So when you're saying, hey, I need you to update John Doe's phone number to this, it will go and read all of Salesforce's API documentation within like a millisecond, say, oh, okay, here's the endpoints for doing that. And then it will make that work happen. And then it can respond back to you saying, hey, this is what I've done. Here's where was success. Or if there was an error, here's where the error was. So you can kind of, help remedy through that process. At this point, I mean, it would be you putting in your own credentials to activate it for your specific iteration. So for the most part, like if you're using Salesforce, you're going to log in with your Salesforce username and password into our system to make the whole thing work. So it would be specific to you. I think there probably are applications that we can do like master API keys, things like that with, but we just haven't run into it yet. The nice thing too is by doing it that way, we also can track what everybody is doing. So if you need to see logs of like who has done what within our CRM, that's going to be able to be shown up not only in the CRM, but within the logs of the AI platform as well. So you can kind of understand who's done what, if somebody has already updated John Doe's phone number, what that looks like, and just kind of making sure that everything is kind of tracked in a way that an organization knows what's going on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's kind of where we're at, is making sure we can do the actions on your behalf, but make it visible to whoever else needs to kind of see how it's operating.
Yeah, it makes sense. The phone number is probably a bad example. I could think of a similar instance where, let's say John Doe is a client and I want to reach out to him and you want to reach out to him. If the left arm's not talking to the right arm, we could both say, please email John Doe that invoice, and he may get it multiple times because it wouldn't think to check if the invoice has already been sent. I don't know if it would or wouldn't.
Yeah.
That to me is more of an operational issue. That has, it's deeper in the organization than just AI on the surface. But that's one of the things that comes with AI. You can do things faster, more efficiently, which means you can also duplicate things faster and more efficiently. And you don't necessarily want that output from the AI.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I think most companies do have pretty good systems in place where, if you're the account owner of this specific account, you're the one that can send the invoices and get that. Hopefully, I mean, you made a good point though. There could be a process where we need to build feedback loops saying, hey, send John Doe an invoice. And then it says back, oh, did you know that Sam already sent an invoice within 24 hours? So those are things that we can obviously build in. And that's actually just prompting too. So like if you wanted to build an agent system for that specific use case, you would just prompt in, okay, anytime that somebody sends a bill through this system, make sure to check to see if in the last 24 hours, an invoice hasn't been sent to them, and then respond back if so. So those are kind of things that you could just build into the AI. And that's where it'll continue to evolve as well. It's going to continue to evolve by all the different processes that you come across to kind of figure things out. One of the kind of interesting ones I think about is like a real estate agent. who wants like every morning to scrape their MLS, find new houses within a certain zip code, match those houses up to the, people in my CRM that are looking for homes, 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a pool, right? And then automatically go into my email and send them an email on a daily basis of all the new houses available in the zip codes they may be looking for. So those are like agents that you could build full automations on that people don't have to sit there and do that work anymore. I think those are the kind of the exciting things about where this can actually really just make working easier, more fun for a lot of people. Getting rid of those.
Yeah, no, it's super cool.
Things people want to do.
I have a habit of thinking about larger organizations and how it all plays together. But you're spot on. You're right. I do want to say, though, as someone that consults with a lot of businesses, most people don't have those processes in place.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
You're right.
That's
actually,
why I asked that question.
No, it's a good point. And it's definitely something to think about. And one of the things that we definitely think about a lot is, again, just how customizable you can actually build this to the specific needs of your organization or you personally within an organization. So that's kind of the cool stuff that I look at is like, if you know what you want, you can pretty much get the AI to do it for you and automate those processes that you don't want to do. So
begin with the end in mind. I like it.
Yep.
It's a good tip, especially for AI. Matthew, This has been fun. We've teased the people long enough. Where can they go learn about Platypus and hopefully get it started in their company?
Yeah. So just go to PlatypusOS. There you go, right there on the screen.com. You can go in there right now. We are still in like a limited beta, but we'll be opening it up to everybody probably the next week and a half or so. So if you sign up there, you'll get access to the whole platform when it is fully launched GA. But you may even get into our beta. So we're still releasing people into our beta right now. So check it out. We'd love to any feedback you guys have. Love people like playing with it and seeing what they can do with it and giving us the feedback of like, oh, did you know it could do this? We're like, oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, go there, check us out.
Yeah, that's always fun. And full disclosure, this episode was recorded a couple of weeks ago. So it might be live at this point when you're hearing it. So definitely go check it out. It's on the screen. It's in the show notes down below. Matthew, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. This is great.
Wherever you're watching and listening, please go check it out. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know what questions you have, what Platypus can or can't do for your business, and how you're using AI in your business. I would love to know. I'm sure Matthew would too. And maybe build some more features into the next generation, next version of Platypus. We'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Harmonious at Lunch.
Another episode of Harmonious at Lunch in the books. I hope this episode made you think and you grabbed some actionable ideas to propel your business. Don't forget to like, comment your takeaways, and subscribe wherever you're listening so we can help more entrepreneurs just like you achieve